Hello again, thanks for joining. This is a second-hand Roco model that I've got in HO scale. It's number 43448 in the Roco range, and it represents a BR114 electric locomotive from the Deutsche Bahn. It's in the classic cream and red colour scheme. I think it's going to be quite a nice model. I always like Roco stuff, so let's get this out and we'll have a look at it. So in with the model we have a couple of leaflets. This is the first one here. It covers a number of different models. It's probably just livery options on this particular model. But you can also see there's a BR111 detailed in this leaflet, and I actually have a model 111 coming up soon on this channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe and you can see that as well. So this is a multilingual leaflet and it shows you how to take the model out of the packaging, even though this was below the model, so that was a bit funny. And inside we've got some details on how to fit the extra parts. There is a bag of little pieces which we can add on to this, including all these little cables at the front. And it also looks as though we maybe have some lighting as well. This is detailing that we can pick up from the track or overhead electrics just by turning this screw here on the top of the roof of the model. And other details here about how to take the model apart and keep it lubricated. And this looks as though you can possibly set this up for 3-rail operation as well, so there's a lot of options on this model. We've also got this service sheet showing all the parts that make up this model. There's quite a few of them as well, and it continues on the back as well. There's a couple of little packing slips as well that have been put in here, as well as this bag of extra parts. There's quite a lot in there, and we saw that in the instructions that you can fit all these to the model if you want. This is a second-hand model, but it looks as though these parts have never been fitted. And here is the model, and from first impressions it does look like quite a refined looking thing with a lot of detail, and it's very appealing as well. The colours really look great and it's got these nice red pantographs on the roof. But let's take a closer look. So as normal we'll start at the front, and you can actually see inside we have a driver here. He's fully painted inside the cab there, and flush fit glazing with really nice black surrounds and little windscreen wipers printed onto the plastic of the windows. Got a headlight up top here as well as two on each side further down. But one of the things I'm noticing already is it's a bit fuzzy on the masking between the cream and the red. It's a difficult combination to get right, and I don't think they've got it quite right on this model. It's not up to normal Roco standards. However, the printing of the logo and the numbers is very, very clear. And I do like the silver surrounds around the lights. Further down in the buffer beam we've got the holes there for the extra jumper cables. We saw that in the instructions and they're included in the bag. But it looks like these buffers are separate pieces to the body. At the top of the cab as well we have this little fine black line running across the top of the windows as well. Really gives the character of the locomotive, and I think that's been done pretty well too. So I'm just about to look down the side of the locomotive, but this piece has just fallen off, so I'm going to have to figure out where that goes. It's obviously very delicate, this model. I think this has come off the bogies somewhere. I'll put it to one side for now. So I'll come on to the bogies in a moment. They do look really good, but the body shell, I'm not sure of the masking around the door here, especially if I tip it this way. You can see this little piece here where the paint isn't actually really that good. And we have handrails here as well, which have been moulded in and picked out in silver. But the sides of them do look a bit ugly. But what is nice is the grills here. This is an extra piece that's been moulded and added on in grey plastic, and that does actually look really quite good. And the printing of the Deutsche Bahn logo and the numbers especially are really good as well. But as we move further down you can see that there's still some problems between the red and the cream where it's been masked. It's not been done that well, which is actually really letting this model down. When I first saw it I thought it was pretty good, but on closer inspection I'm really not quite sure of this one. At this end there's no driver figure, but you can see the hole in the driver's seat where the driver figure is meant to fit in. There is an indication of an interior which is quite good. The glazing is very clear so it's easy to see inside. So up on the roof there's some really nice interesting details. The plastic moulding has things like this hatch here and some grills down here. The pantographs look really good, and they've got additional extra pieces added in like this little aerial here and this part of the electrical gear. There's a wire running here in red between the two pantographs. That is an actual piece of metal. And there's also some other very delicate electrical gear moulded up here as an extra piece. The pantographs are really nicely spring-loaded, and also we saw in the instructions that you can pick up from overheads with these. It doesn't look as though it's ever been used that way. These skids are completely clean, and the red on the pantographs looks really good as well. There's another little thing up here. I think that might be an aerial or whistle or horn or something like that. The bogie is really impressed with the detail, especially things like this little step here and the pipe work onto the axles. There's a lot of deep detail and moulded into them, and it looks pretty good. We've got red inserts on the wheels as well, which are made of metal. And this model does look as though it's all-wheel drive as well. I guess the gearbox must be inside the bogies. and it's looking as though it's all-wheel pickup as well, except for this one here and this one here where we've got traction tyres obviously, and a little bit of dirt on this wheel. You can see here it says made in Austria. And in the centre we have some details which have been added in this piece of plastic here, just a one-piece moulding which has been added in at the central section. It does look like quite a good model from a distance, but I suppose the masking problems between the cream and the red are actually just quite annoying when you look at it close up. I've just spotted that the piece that fell off actually fits there on the bogie, just pushed it back in. Anyway, let's see if we can get this open and we'll have a look at the mechanism. So inside the body you can see where the lighting is transmitted along these pieces of plastic to each end. So it's a central mounted bulb and it produces quite a dim light at each end, but you know, at least it's got lighting. You can also see the wire that runs between the two pantographs and it connects to the chassis at that point there. You can also see the screws which hold the pantographs on and little studs coming through from the grills which were additional pieces added in. And you can also see how the paint has been applied. It's obviously cream plastic with the red being added on, and it's not been done that well. It's actually quite disappointing for a Roco model. They're not usually this bad. The chassis is made of all metal. It's quite chunky as well. The bulb's set up here on a little circuit board, and here we have the little connector if you want to do overhead pickup. The motor's situated right in the middle and it's quite a large motor. It does have a flywheel on one end of it, but only one end, the other end doesn't. And it does look as though it's all-wheel drive as well as all-wheel pickup. So hopefully it should perform pretty well. Let me put this back together and we'll put it on a test track and give it a go. So here we are on a piece of test track. It's just some Hornby third radius curves and I'm using my H&M controller on 12 volts DC to give it some power. So let's give it some juice and see what happens. Well, there's no doubting that that is an excellent runner. It just picks up perfectly, can crawl really slowly as well, and it's fairly quiet too. The only downside is that the lights just are absolutely rubbish like I thought they might be. I guess if you give it a lot of power, the lights will work okay, but under lower voltages, they just don't light up enough. So it's ripe for an LED upgrade, that's for sure. Anyway, let's put this on the scales and we'll see how much it weighs. So this model comes in at 328 grams. So Roco's BR114 is quite an interesting model. It's got some really good things and some things which aren't so good as well. So just touching on the not so good things, I think this paint job is not the best. The masking is obviously a real big problem here. I don't know what's gone wrong with the quality on this model, but the red just hasn't been applied that well at all. It's a real shame. Normally Roco stuff is absolutely spot on and it really lets this model down because the rest of it is actually really good. The real standout things for me are the bogies, which have got a huge amount of detail moulded in there. They really do look fantastic. The windows are great as well, flush fit and really clear. The overall moulding is not too bad at all. I don't like how it is around the handrails at the door. I think that looks a bit scrappy. But aside from that, everything else is really great and it's got some really interesting stuff on the roof. The pantographs are great as well and you can also pick up from them. So from 2 or 3 foot away, this does look fantastic, but get a bit closer and that masking really lets it down. The mechanics are really good as well. The big large motor with a flywheel works really well. It seems to pick up great and it also runs on the track, no problems at all. So this one is a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to Roco, but because I have high standards for Roco, I think this model's been let down by the masking on it. Perhaps a different colour scheme might be better for it. There's certainly no complaints other than that, and you do get the extras to add on to it as well if you want. So I would say this is probably a middle of the road model. From a distance, it looks good enough. So on the model railway layout moving around, I think you wouldn't really notice the flaws on it. But that's just what I think. What do you think about this model? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll put this on the turntable so you can see all the way around. And another video should appear pretty soon. Just click on that and I'll see you there. That's it for this one. Thanks again for watching. See ya.
So model train, model world, choo choo, model train, tiny world, choo choo.